This morning I woke up at 4 a.m. So lately I've just been in this crazy schedule where I go to bed at 9 p.m. and like wake up around 4 a.m. and I feel really good. So I'm just gonna keep doing it. And the best thing is I'm starting off this parts hunt very early. And I started messaging people around 5:30, not too early. If they leave their phone on loud, I don't want them to get a sudden buzz in the middle of the night. But I started messaging really early in the morning, and basically we've got some deals already lined up and people have come back to us. For instance, we're just right now going to pick up a Corsair case, also with an included water cooler, and this is for 80 Aussie dollars. They're asking 100 for it. I offered 80, they said sure, and they're actually gonna meet me just down the road because they're passing through. So we're gonna go get that right now, but also I was messaging on an RTX 2060 6GB. They've got back to us, said they would accept my offer of 140 Aussie, and then there's also a GTX 1060 6GB, which we offered 60 down, and they said yes to that. And then there's a GTX 1070 8GB for 90 Aussie dollars. So I'm already loving these early morning deals, and this is going to be the start of the parts hunt of the month for September. So if you like used PC parts and you like bargain hunting, then come with us for a bit of a journey here, and let's go see what deals we can find, as well as talking about the used market in general, right after today's video sponsor. If you want to get rid of this annoying activate Windows message, then today's video sponsor SCD Keys has you covered for as little as $15 US. After you enter that coupon code BFTYC, you can cop yourself a legit single end user license today. Also works for Windows 11 Pro too. Links in description below. So here's our first deal here. We've actually ended up getting a little bit more than we bargained for. So the case is in pretty good nick, and there's not just the water cooler inside, there's also a GPU vertical mount bracket included too, with what I believe is a PCIe riser cable. So they pretty much just changed cases, I guess, with a new build and did the whole new thing. And yeah, I mean, selling this stuff at a bargain, all this needs is a little cleanup and we are good to go. So that's definitely looking like a bit of a score. So we just picked up a GTX 1060 6GB, and this was for 60 Aussie dollars. So probably one of the cheapest 1060s I've ever picked up in my life. Now, when I first met the guy just here, I said, like, it works fine. He said, oh yeah, it was working before. I just can't show you it working now. I don't have anything to test it on. I just said, well, if it's can I bring it back? And he said, yeah, absolutely. So that's pretty good sign if they say that. So, you know, otherwise if they said, oh, like, mate, if it doesn't work, I don't want to know about it, then it's like, well, yeah, maybe this guy's hosing me, so I probably won't do that deal. But anyhow, there was another deal for a GTX 1070 8GB, which they agreed on $90 for this. And then I went to just check out, like, because I asked them for the suburb, like, whereabouts do you live, what area? And they gave me their exact address. And then I was in the middle of a deal, like that first case deal, and I didn't get back to them for 10 minutes. But then when I got back, it was like, oh, I was selling it to my brother for $100, and then they blocked me. So they must have been worried that I was like fishing for an address or something. But the reason why I asked that is because I want to make a plan so I'm not spending all this time driving and wasting too much fuel. And I got to go see Les later on. He's up around that area where it said it was located. So just want to sort of schedule out my day and make it more efficient. But I guess nowadays some people are just really on edge. You can't blame them too with the amount of crap going on. So we are coming with a bit of an update just a couple of hours later because we had to drop that stuff back home. We had to check out what deals are crack-a-lacking on Facebook Marketplace. And what we found here was a 3060 Ti listing. It had 330 down from 350. And I just said, look, man, I can buy more than one, 300, what do you say? And they came back and said, sure thing. So we're gonna go pick up some GPU deals that are actually pretty close to Les. And so I thought, well, I'm gonna jump in the car, the Tech Yes Mobile, which we'll talk about maybe in another video. There's a new Tech Yes-mobile, which we got an absolute deal on, which we'll talk about. We're going to go see Les first and see what deals he's got popping off. And then we're going to go check out these 3060 Ti's and see what the deal is there. But also, there's another GTX 1060 6GB where we offered $60 and they got back to us at 70. So I said, sure thing. We'll actually go pick that up a little bit later too. So it seems like there is some good GPU deals to be had here locally, just at least in the last month, because people were telling me before that there were no good GPU deals. But hey, here we are, and when the price is right, the price is right. I'm just gonna jump all over that. So let's go jump all over these deals and see what comes up. So we now just finished up at Les's, and although we started this parts on in the morning, it's now 2 p.m. because I started off with Les, and we're just catching up, man. We're catching up a lot, and he had a couple of deals for us. He had an i5 7400 system that he did for us for a really good price, and then he also had a i7 older school system. And I'm like, man, I actually just ran out of low-end banger gaming PCs, so I could use a couple of those. And then he had this weird graphics card as well. I actually have never even heard of it. It's an R7 430, but it's got 4 GB of VRAM. So I'm actually going to check it out and see if I can play Roblox and Fortnite. And if so, you've got yourself another banger GPU that we picked up for 20 Oz, and we can put that in a banger PC and flip it up, make some profit. And then also on top of that, he had a monitor stand, threw in some power cables, and the best thing was he had some fresh tomatoes that he got given, and he shared the love. And so I took a heap of free tomatoes. And this is the thing, you're like, Brian, man, you're just taking. It's like, no, man, look, last Christmas, I gave Les $100 gift voucher for JB Hi-Fi. Like, I looked after him. So I'm appreciating, don't worry, boys. I'm appreciating the love, and I always give back with the love. So we got those deals, we picked it up, and also Les is in pretty good health, man. So I know in a recent video I talked about that someone that passed in the tech scene around where I am as flipping, and it was a sad story. It's actually a really sad story, and we're talking about that as well. We were kind of like, that's what we're having a drink over, and it's just, yeah, it's sad stuff. And anyhow, let's get back to these deals. 3060 Ti's, we're gonna go pick them up right now. Then we're gonna go check out that 1060. But also in the meantime, we're just gonna be like, when we stop off the deals, we're gonna do a quick check, see what's on Marketplace, see what's popping off. Because lately Gumtree has just been overrun by scammers and just fake accounts. And when I checked Gumtree, it was just literally a bust. It was just full of people trying to sell their gaming PCs too. So there's really no good deals on there. But anyway, let's go check out what these 3060 Ti's are about. So earlier in the month, when we put the Fire Sunnies on, we only put those on because we were gonna get later on in the month Fire deals. And that's what we've got right here, 3060 Ti Founders Edition cards. And I say cards, plural, because we got 5 of these for 300 a piece, Aussie. So USD wise, it'd be a little over 200 USD a pop. And I mean, at those prices, we are always gonna need a good GPU in a gaming PC. So that's what that's delivering. Of course, I asked what else they had around, and they didn't have anything else except some, apparently they got some power supplies as well, but they had coil wine. And one thing about power supplies is you do not want coil wine on your power supply, especially if you're gonna flip a PC. It's just, I mean, the power supply is on its way out, but also
I would feel sorry for the customer if you put in a power supply with coil wind in it. So that's just an absolute no-go. So unfortunately, he couldn't do with them because he apparently got them on a deal and he couldn't do anything with them. And so he had to pretty much toss them in the bin. But Corsair apparently wouldn't warranty them either. So weird stories. But hey, man, speaking of today, we just got story after story. I've been catching up with everyone, talking to everyone. I mean, awesome month in terms of just talking to people, and just this is what I guess it's just a Gold Coast Queensland thing. Everyone in Queensland is really chill and always open for a chat. And speaking of that, Rocket Jump Ninja, he's a YouTuber who does mouse reviews. He just called me because he knows that I'm sometimes up this way, and he was like, yo, can you stop in and fix up my dad's PC? So, because he lives like over an hour away from his dad. And I'm like, actually, I'm driving right past his place. So I'm gonna go fix up Rocket Jump Ninja's dad's PC right now. Who knows what's wrong with it, but let's go check that out especially while we wait for some replies on some deals. I'm still waiting for that person to get back to me on the 1060, as well as the RTX 2060. So there are two deals that I do want to pick up because they're pretty good prices, but let's go see what unfolds on this road that is hopefully not dirt, because I swear if I'm going to watch back my camera footage on my car, I swear I possibly ran over a black snake whilst driving on one of these dirt roads to get this deal. Only in Oz, fellas, only in Oz. Wait, is that Windows 98? That is a Windows 98 stamp. Hold on. Wow, okay, this is actually ancient history. Dude, that's like 25 years old, okay. All right, man, well, I got a feed here, dude. I'm gonna dig in. And now we are back at the Tech Yes studio, and you may notice there is a very interesting PC on the table here, outside of the Les deals, of course, and the other deals. But this one here, we got this for free off Rocket Jump Ninja's dad for helping him fix up his PC. And nothing was really wrong with the PC. It's just that he needed to do a few things on it. He wanted to make the PC quieter, so we went in the BIOS, put it in eco mode, dropped the fan speeds down a little bit. And so he was so happy. And then at the end, he was like, why are you in a rush? And I'm like, dude, I haven't ate lunch yet. And he's like, sit down, I'm gonna make you a feed, relax. And so big shout out to Rocket Jump Ninja's dad. Not Rocket Jump Ninja, don't bother about him, guys. Rocket Jump Ninja's dad for the win. And we also got on here the GPU deals, and we got the 3060 Ti's. Now, I'm gonna go test these out right now, make sure they all work absolutely fine. And then we've got this little guy right here. It's an R7 430. So again, never heard of this thing, but hey, if it can play Roblox, then all the merrier. And we've also already tested out this GTX 1060. That works absolutely fine. But then there was another thing, and that was the RTX 2060 guy finally got back to me, and he's like, yeah, you can come pick it up right now. And I'm thinking, dude, I was down your way this morning, messaging you numerous times, and he didn't get back to me at all. And it's such a waste, because now if I go see him, it's another half an hour there, half an hour back, when I was like already 15 minutes his way. And so it just would have saved a heap of time. I just like, when I do parts hunts and I get multiple deals, I always like to make it as efficient as possible. So kind of just like, if you're selling something and you get back to someone and like, yeah, I accept the deal. It's like, can you just check your messages? Like maybe every like half an hour, maybe, if you're gonna sell something, I don't know. Anyway, the frustrating tales of marketplace and the used market, that's just one of them. But outside of that, I mean, the deals are awesome. But in terms of more deals today, it's about 5 p.m. and I'm like, no one's really getting back to me outside that 2060. I mean, the 1060 guy, the other 1060 guy, he hasn't gotten back to me. And I'm gonna maybe just call it for the night, wake up in the morning, early morning again, see what deals we can find tomorrow, and just start doing a little parts hunt in the morning and see if we can come up on strike some really good deals. If not, we'll just close out the parts hunt, because I'm not exactly desperate for parts right now, because I've got so many parts coming back on a boat from Japan. So there's actually a lot of parts coming back that we were doing all the parts hunts in Japan with. Those parts are on the way back on a boat. So we're gonna be stocked up anyhow, but let's test these things out now and see what the go is.
Let's go!
So this is now the last of the 3060 Ti's that we are testing here, and I gotta say, those temperatures are looking really good, and all of them for that matter, they all work and the temperatures are awesome. Now the one thing, and why I'm happy about the temperatures being low, is that I don't have to change the thermal paste on these cards, but it also means they haven't been used that heavily, which is a really good sign, because the Founders cards, they're an absolute pain to change the thermal paste on, a big pain in the A. If you guys ever change thermal paste on a Founders card, it just takes a long time. You got to screw off all these screws, and then below that you got more screws, and it's sort of like screwception just to change the thermal paste. So I'm glad all the temperatures are fine on these things. And we also tested out this little guy right here. He is working absolutely fine too, although the FPS isn't so great. So we've just pulled this old thing apart, and it has an old Celeron in it. No, this isn't what you're used to in a PC parts hunt, but main thing is I want this case right here. So I actually need some feedback because I want to keep these logos, like especially that Windows 98 logo. That's pretty cool. I want to keep that on it, but also want to clean up everything. So what would be the best cleaning for that? Because usually when I clean stuff, it's like abrasive, just get it all off, make it all shiny, brand new. But what would be the best way to clean that without damaging the logos? That'd be something interesting if you guys got experience with that. But then of course inside the case here with all this rust, I can just go ham taro on that and clean all that up. But yeah, this is kind of like the project case, because something this old is just super rare now. I actually don't see these come up at all nowadays. So in terms of this hardware right here, I've showed this to Marco. He's in the comments a lot. He said he wants this. He'll absolutely want this. So I'll put that aside for him. And then you guys have mentioned about these old power supplies. I think this is actually one of the first legit ones I've come into where you've got a legit 12 volt rail that's much lower than the 5 volt rail. So the 5 volt rail has like 20 amps available there. So it's huge, right? So this is on these real old PCs. And so, I mean, it's really heavy, so I kind of would assume that maybe it's a legitimate power supply, and that 5 volt rail is pretty powerful, as opposed to some of those newer power supplies where they're like 5 volt, 25 amps, and it's just like you pick up the power supply and it's just, it's light as a feather. So anyway, that's just like a bit of a detour from the main parts hunt. Let's get some sleep, and then we'll wake up early in the morning and see what's cracking on the market. So it's now the next day, and we have actually had a really rough day so far because it's 5 p.m. already, and I'm about to get in the Yes-mobile and finally pick up that RTX 2060 from yesterday. But also today, the 1060 guy, he got back to me and said, pick the GPU up anytime after 1 p.m. And I'm like, cool. I messaged him back and I said, what's the address, mate? And then he just hasn't gotten back to me since that time, since like 10 a.m. and it's now 5 p.m. So some people on Facebook, I mean, we're complaining about this yesterday, but it's just even worse today. So I guess I'm just having a bad run. But the reason we're getting this 2060 instead of skipping it is because we've actually found another deal that's down that way. And it's for a whole PC. They were asking $75 initially. I put in an offer of $50. Now the reasoning behind this one is that I'm hoping it's the right deal to get the $100 flip up challenge started. So although we're going to include it in this month's part hunt, it's actually going to get its dedicated video as the start of episode 1 of the $100 flip up challenge season 4, which you guys have been requesting in the comments. But also today I have been extremely busy. It's weird with flipping PCs. Today I've already flipped 3 PCs, and we got someone else coming later on in the day to look at one. So it's just so random. You won't sell a PC all week, and all of a sudden, everyone wants to come at the same time, and it's like they're competing with each other as well. So, oh man, that's when you got the extra parts, you can make a bit of magic happen. So you can build one up. And so yeah, been pretty busy all day, but let's go hit that Yesmobile, get those parts, as well as hopefully in the meantime, people get back to us with some other offers that we put down on some parts. And if they don't get back to us, then so be it. If they do, then we've got some extra deals in the kitty. But right now, it's to the Yesmobile. So this is gonna sound a little bit weird, but we just picked up this PC right here, and it ended up being with actually a decent monitor, and the guy gave it to us all for free. So when I rocked up, he basically said, look mate, I can't boot this thing up properly. So essentially it does the whole turn on for like a split second and then it shuts off. And he said, look, you might be able to fix it up. It might be a complete dump job. And I'm thinking, dude, I mean, for free, I was gonna pay you 50 bucks for obviously one that booted up, but I mean, the fact that he went to boot it up right before he sold it and it didn't work, I guess that worked in my favor. So we'll figure out what's wrong with it. Sometimes it's just a simple fix, like just reinserting the memory. But the monitor looks really good, and then there's a keyboard and mouse to boot. So the $100 flip up challenge is going to be absolutely banging this time around, at least the first episode. And then though, you may notice I've dropped this off home. And that's because, man, I don't know what it is nowadays, but communication, this weekend especially, communication is just off for all these people, man. Like the guy with picking up the PC, I said to him, like, mate, he's like, oh, I'll be there around 6 p.m. I'm like, mate, can you make it after 7 p.m.? Because I gotta go pick up a heap of deals, get back. And he's like, yeah, sure. And then I pick up this deal and he messages me like, oh man, I'm at your place. And I'm like, what is going on with communication? So I said, dude, just wait 15 minutes. I got to drive back. And so now it's getting close to 6 because I just sold that PC. And we got to go get this RTX 2060 because we promised the guy would get it. So to the Yesmobile, and let's go pick up that final deal because no one's gotten back to us. And yeah, hopefully it's a banger. Okay, so we've got now the last deal of the parts hunt, and this is an RTX 2060. So when I got there, the guy like thanked me for offering him a half decent price for it because he said he had it up for I think about a week now, and all he was getting was $100 offers on it. And I mean, the thing with GPUs is if you run out and you got to flip PCs, then they're the hardest thing to get at decent prices. So anything else like an SSD or a case or a RAM or something like that, I'm coming into good prices on them consistently. But GPUs is the one thing, it's always hard to get it, especially if you need them. So with GPUs, I'm always offering what I'm prepared to pay for it. And of course, if I can get an even better deal, then that's always a bonus, but I don't take it for granted because if you look at the prices of GPUs on AliExpress, especially for NVIDIA GPUs, that's another one in the kitty though. Let's get home and test this thing out. I mean, the guy guaranteed me it worked, but let's test it out anyhow. And also then talk about the used market and what's been going down, especially since I've gotten back to Australia. And here we are now at the close of the parts hunt of the month here for September 2024. And I'll put the tally up on the screen for you guys so you can see everything we got, every single deal. And I've also tested this RTX 2060 right here, and that works absolutely fine. We're gonna check out, of course, what's inside this thing in the flip up challenge, so do stay tuned for that. And we've also got, I mean, something like this, $10 power supply from Les, that's always a banger, because a brand new power supply is gonna cost you 50 bucks, and if this thing's checking out absolutely fine for 10 bucks, man, that 40 bucks is basically profit on a flip. So that's the kind of deals that we need to be getting and trying to get consistently in this market right now, because it is a tight market, man. Everyone's messaging me, telling me how slow things are this month for September, but we'll get in the hot seat and talk about it. But in the meantime, do let us know what was your favorite deal this month and why. I love reading those comments as always. For me personally, I gotta say these 3060 Ti Founders, that one's like a safe bet. These things don't just look really cool, they also perform really well too. And especially with getting a lot of 5 of them for the price that we did, I'm pretty happy with that. they're looking at pure value, of course, free monitor and a free PC, that's probably going to be the best value, undoubtedly. So there's actually some really cool deals here. But again, looking forward to reading you guys' thoughts in the comments. Let's go to the hot seat right now and talk about the used market and some tech yes-onomics. So look at this chair right here. This is a free one from Dadman until we get another chair in the Tech Yes studio. And the reason for that chair is actually I sold the Corsair gaming chairs that I had here. So these things just weren't as comfortable as a proper ergonomic chair, which I actually went to a store and tried some. They had like a heap of different chairs that I could try. And so I'm just gonna get a proper ergonomic chair because lately I've been benchmarking so much stuff and I'm thinking, man, like back's getting a little bit sore on those Corsair gaming chairs. So I'm thinking it needs something proper. So I've actually went to the store, tried out a heap of chairs. So I've still got to decide what one I get. But in the meantime, we're just using this banger one that's Dadman got for free. Anyhow, chairs aside, let's talk about the used market and what is going on right now. It is an extremely slow market. And I don't see things picking up until November when the sort of Christmas season starts to happen. People start buying PCs for their kids and storing them and getting them ready for Christmas presents. And there's a lot of that going on during that time from November. But right now it's a slow market and everyone's messaging me going, Brian, what do I do? Am I doing something wrong? And I'm asking them, okay, are your views okay on your ads or your website or whatnot? And they're like, yeah, views are fine. They show me their views and I'm like, that's really healthy. That's good views. So there's just not the conversions. So the conversions aren't happening, which again leads back to the tough market kind of thing. So with me, I've been making a few sales, but it's just been really competitive. People have been coming in under asking for sure. Like every sale I've made has always been under asking, or they want something thrown in, like a keyboard, a mouse, or a monitor. So usually, I mean, a year ago, people would just come around, buy for asking, not even haggle. So it's a very different market, even versus September last year. And so you just, I guess you got to get your competitive edge up and make sure you're just delivering the hard value all day, every day. And so that comes and flows through, not just on the final price of your PC, but of course, it flows through on all the deals that you're getting. And if you're not getting those deals at the right price, then you're just going to be sinking behind. And so, for instance, during this parts hunt even, there was a guy with a Ryzen 7 1700. He was up in Brisbane near Les. And I was asking, I think, I put in an offer anyway, $50 for that 8-core. And he comes back and goes, 65. And I said, mate, I can get them off AliExpress for that delivered to my door. And then he said, oh, 60. And then you don't have to wait 2 weeks for it. And I was like, well, I don't really care if I have to wait 2 weeks. I don't need it desperately now. And so me wasting that time and even the fuel to go pick that up and save $5 is just not worth it. So it's like AliExpress is right there. And it's always that good backup for buying, I guess, bulk sort of on CPUs. And the CPU deals right now are really good, especially if we look at the Ryzen CPUs off AliExpress. So that's always a good thing to have. And those seem to just be getting cheaper and cheaper by the month too. So that's one good thing. RAM's come down in price. That's ridiculously cheap. SSDs are pretty good too right now. Cases, power supplies, they seem okay. But then of course that all comes back to the main ingredient, and that's the GPUs. So always be on the lookout for a good deal on a GPU. Anyhow, guys, what's going on right now in terms of the economy, macro? You guys love listening to me talk about some of this stuff. And we've recently seen from the US a 50 basis point drop, and that is just massive, right? We've seen those graphs with the 1970s inflation, right? It went up heaps and then it came down, and I think we are mimicking that 1970s style inflation. I think they're dropping interest rates too soon, and they're going to keep dropping them, and then the inflation's just going to take off again, and we'll have that next spike in the next few years. But I mean, at least in the next month, 2 months, things will be okay. But perhaps I can make an updated, dedicated Tech Yes-onomics video talking about it, because it is very important to know when sort of the penny drops and people just then start saying, okay, inflation season's back on again. And that sort of coincides with maybe another massive drop in interest rates, but also government spending picks up, stimmy checks are back on, things like that. So although for the time being, we've got this one sort of inflationary sign that's definitely come back in with the interest rates dropping, there has to be sort of another few things that I'm waiting to see before I tell people, look, go out and spend your cash now and get something that's valuable and holds its value before that cash becomes worth even less. But for the meantime, I don't think it's an imminent danger, at least especially related to a gaming graphics card. Anyhow, guys, with all that out of the way, I hope you enjoyed this month's parts hunt. It does feel a little bit different. Like, I'm starting the parts hunts a lot earlier. I'm in a much different schedule this month than I've ever been, especially in Australia. And kind of in Japan, I just started waking up really early and then just eating things like smoked salmon and eggs, boiled eggs in the morning. And I'm starting to feel great, coupled in with all the other stuff like kimchi and kefir, probiotics. And then, of course, on top of that, exercise. I just find I wake up and I've just got so much energy and I can think really clearly. So that's been on the forefront of what I've been doing lately. But this month has just been absolutely hectic because I got back from Japan and then I came into a studio that was just a complete mess. Like, it was a disaster. I was actually shocked that I'd left it in the state that it was in. And so I cleaned it up, and then of course we did the walls again, red, and I had to give this one a touch up with the yellow because we pulled all the LED lights off it. Maybe we can give you a studio tour once everything's actually kind of done here. It's still work in progress and getting things done, but had to do all that and then fly down to Sydney because NVIDIA wanted me to come down and see their AI display suite. So they had this suite set up for AI stuff, and I was kind of a little bit surprised because I had already seen all that stuff at Computex. If you guys haven't seen what NVIDIA is doing, they got things like G-Assist. I actually made a dedicated video on it. It was pretty interesting stuff, and we got to see all that stuff again. And some of it had been made a lot of progress, especially the AI sort of translation from Chinese to English and that talking to this jungle woman. It was it was pretty cool, but I mean, it was everything I'd seen in Taiwan, I'd seen again. And I was actually, for me, the biggest thing about that event was 4K OLEDs. Seeing the Gen 3 Samsung panels, there was just heaps of them there. And I was like, guys, these 4K OLEDs are looking real good. so good old OLED, man. I'm glad it's making waves and it's making progress in terms of PC gaming, because that's probably the most exciting thing for me personally that's been coming into the PC gaming world that's new, is those newer generation OLED, the QD LEDs especially. But then after all that, I then had to get into flipping mode and just building up PCs. And then on top of that, we had to do this whole Ryzen 9000 series thing, which I'm still doing. Now I'm on the last hurdle. This is the power profiles, and I've got to rerun some tests, but the video will be out before the end of the month because I forgot to get some capture footage on the 7950X 3D footage. So I've got to rerun that. But I look forward to giving you guys that video. And there's just been a lot of benchmarking going on this month. And I'm glad I've done it because my results are definitely starting to look like they're different from other people's, especially when it came to the Ryzen 9000 series. And people are telling me, oh man, Windows 11's better. And at that stage, I just have to say, show me the proof. I'm tired of seeing just bar graphs. I want to see the proof. So then I can properly cross-reference my results with said person's results, and we can figure out perhaps maybe their Windows 10 install isn't good enough, or they're doing something wrong, or I'm doing something wrong with Windows 11. I don't know, but I'd love to just see more proof instead of the graphs. And that's, if all we're getting is graphs, basically the source there is just trust me, bro. And really, when we boil it down. And so coming back to Australia, I've just got such a clear head. It's actually insane, the clarity on everything that I'm seeing. And so if I'm coming across as a bit brash in some of my videos, I do apologize in advance, but I'm just, I'm doing my tests and I'm doing everything apples to apples. And I'm just getting these results that I'm like, okay, my results are different from other people's, but also if I look at the FPS charts too, my FPS is a lot higher than these other individuals. So I'm kind of in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, can you show me then exactly what you did with your testing? Show me some video footage. And so ultimately that's the main goal here going forward, is I want to see proof to back up these claims that Windows 11, especially 24H2, is faster than Windows 10, because I certainly didn't see that. Anyhow, guys, that is all the crazy for this month, at least with the parts hunt. There is still more crazy to come, especially when we look at that flip up series. That's That's going to be exciting. And we're going to get all into that. So do stay tuned. And if you've watched the video this far and you've enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments, then be sure to drop them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And with that aside, I'll catch you guys in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye. So yesterday morning, I was editing out the parts hunt and something really crazy happened. And this was, I guess, day 3 of the parts hunt. And that was, I was messaging someone on day 2 about a 3700X and a motherboard. And I think it had a cooler on it as well as some RAM. And I just said, look, would you, they are asking 3, but I said, look, man, would you take 200? Because that's all it's worth to me, really. I can go on AliExpress, get a B450, a 3700X delivered to my door for kind of similar money. So hoping to get better value locally, 200 was what I thought was fair. And he came back at 250 and I just said, well, sorry, mate, you know, it's a tough market. But then he was really nice about it and we just thanked each other for not, you know, coming to no deal but not being rude to each other. But then the next day he got back to me and he just said, look, dude, so maybe he was waiting on that day for any better offers to come through. But then he got back to me and said, look, dude, how do you feel about picking up 9 of these combos? And I said, well, yeah, like, let's do this. And he just said, I can do you an even better deal than 200 a pop. And I can throw in some power supplies. So we ended up getting 7 Ryzen 7 3700X combos. And then 2 of them, so on top of that, and one has a 3900X and I believe another has a 5900X. And then of course we've got 9 power supplies up here, all for 1,600 Aussie dollars. So that is an absolute steal in terms of a massive deal that we got here. And then we've got over here, like my day was actually really good. It was pretty hectic because I had to go do a heap of things, but we got new chairs. Well, not new, but they're both used. We picked up both of these off the used market. I went to this place to pick up an $80 chair. That was that one there. They're looking at the retails for like 400 new. So I was like, sweet. And it looked pretty bad in the photos. And then getting it home, I've cleaned it up. And the same with the one on the left. They had that there and I was like, okay, I'll take that as well. And for $80 too. But these chairs were creaking. They had so much just pain going on. But then I knew, well, let's get out some trusty wheel bearing grease and redo all the screws and redo the chair again. So this is what happens when we sit down in the chair, there's absolutely no creaks in it. So this is absolutely amazing right now. I've got these 2 now ergonomic chairs that are proper and they're really comfortable rather than gaming chairs. And I did it all for $10 essentially because I sold the Corsair gaming chairs. I had them both listed for 100 each, but I said I'd do a deal if someone picked them both up and someone came around and got them both for 150. So I was like, sweet. So even though it's a buyer's market, you can still sell something and then use those funds to get something else really cheap. Because I mean, the discount on this ergonomic chair here is 20%. This one here, I don't even know what brand it is and what name it is, but yeah, guys, if you're having problems with creaks on your chair, the car wheel bearing grease is always the way to go.